Hello again, everybody. This is Rocket Rick J18, and today I'm going to do a VR for Scott at Reindeer's Studio. He wants us to do a VR that shows favorite uniforms. And since I'm an old guy, I've kind of have a nostalgic flair for uniforms. Um, just the old wool uniforms, which in retrospect had to be terribly uncomfortable to wear. And you know, I know they're complaining about the uniforms now. But thank God they didn't have to play in the 40s and 50s. That's all I can say. They'd really be doing some complaining, as well as probably a lot of chafing, to be quite honest about it. So, with that in mind, I'm going to show a couple of cards that illustrate some of the uniforms that I really like. Now, I will tell you this, that a lot of times uh, the Braves, the uniforms of the uh, teams that didn't play in New York that are pictured on the baseball cards are their road uniforms. Now, some of them are perfectly fine. Uh, the road uniforms tended to feature rather than the team name, featured the city from which the team represented. Probably because the home unis had said had something different on them that usually indicated, not always, but usually indicated the team name, and because they knew where they were from. They were from where they were playing. But the road uniforms, they wanted people to know, hey, we're playing Philadelphia today, so maybe the uniform says Philadelphia on it. And That's probably not always the case, but often the case. Uh, and I'm going to show you three examples that kind of put the lie to what I just said a little bit, but you'll just have to indulge me on that, I guess. Um, so let's take a look at them, and I have selected three cards from the 1957 top set. And again, why did I choose the 1957 top set? Well, a lot of the older uniforms, older cards, I should say, picture, were portraits. And so they didn't feature a whole lot of the uniform other than the hat, and maybe from, here up. Uh, Occasionally, what you might call an action shot or a more, full or fuller uh, body body shot. Um, and 57 tended to be a little more less of the portrait and more of the sort of half of the uniform. So you didn't get to see a lot of the pants often, but usually you got to see the jersey and the hat, and it was a little bit more adaptable to this kind of a discussion. So I'm going to go ahead then and turn the camera down and some cards. The first one I'm going to show you is the Milwaukee Braves. And again, this is the road uniform. Road grays and home whites normally. not always, but normally. And so the Milwaukee uniform, I kind of like because it has this, bold Braves emblem across the front, and uh, the patch on the sleeve, and then the block letter M caps. And I just remember them from when I was a kid. Whenever the Braves came to town, we usually, if we were going to watch a game, more often than not, it was in Philadelphia Station. Almost exclusively. Occasionally, we'd see an Orioles game on TV if we could get the antenna just right. And So I just remember these uniforms and thinking, man, they're pretty cool. Uh, I'm going to just mention this. They're somewhat controversial today because they kind of co-opt the cultural identity of the Native Americans, and nobody really asked the Native Americans how they felt about it. And I guess I'm sort of on the lineups that since it's their image and emblem and pictures that are on the uniforms, they ought to have some say in it. But uh, I don't know whether the Bears and the Lions and the Cubs, does that matter, or the Pirates, or I don't even know what a Philly with a PH is, but whatever they are, uh, they don't seem to be controversial in the same way, and understandably so. So, Milwaukee Braves. The next one I've already mentioned the Phillies. Phillies was sort of my hometown team. I grew up in Delaware, and we got the three network Philadelphia affiliates, and we watched probably 99% of whatever we watched on television came through those Philadelphia affiliates. And we did get one Baltimore channel sometimes when the weather was just right. Um, and when what we used to call educational TV came into being, uh, we got the Wilmington, Delaware channel of that. And other than that, there was a thing called UHF, which stands for ultra high frequency, as opposed to VHF, or very high frequency. And ultra high frequency wavelengths you had to get on a special antenna. Uh, it could be added as a part of your regular TV antenna, or it could be a wholly separate thing. And it had a separate tuning dial. You would turn it to U for UHF on the regular dial, and then the UHF dial was a separate dial, and you could tune those. So we got three Philadelphia stations again on UHF, and they were channels 17, 29, and 48. And I forget really which one sometimes broadcast the Phillies games, but uh, more games were on UHF than were on VHF. You got the game of the week, Saturday game of the week, and maybe you might get a special game other than that on network TV. But most of the Phillies games came on these UHF channels. And again, these uniforms, you can kind of see the thin script P emblem on the hat and on the uniform. the word Phillies written out. Really pretty pretty basic. Red was the obviously the team color, as it kind of still is today. Although they got oodles of uniforms that are not red, uh, blue ones, and so on. This was a later uniform, earlier in the 50s and in the 40s. They actually uh, had more blue in them than, of course, they don't have any in it now, I mean, in these uniforms, but more blue in the uniforms and the hat and so forth. So I like the Phillies' old uniform. I never really caught on to the more modern, I don't know what you call it, uh, P on the hats. They looked jakey to me. No, it's probably not because I'm old. So this is what I like. And the other one that I'm going to show you is a pirate uniform, and this is again is the road gray, although it says pirates on it. I like the block P and the black hats and the black undershirt, the black piping. That all of that appealed to me, and still does. I confess that I do like the '60s uniforms, which have the sleeveless top, and you would wear the vest, as they called it, over top of a black T-shirt, and those were pretty cool. Also, again, I never kind of caught on to the double knit, or I don't know whether they were spandex or not, but this kind of almost the skin tight. Kind of felt sorry for the players because some of them really didn't look all that good, showing off the details of their lower bodies. Uh, some of them, I suppose, looked very good, but not to me. As they say on Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, because there isn't anything wrong with it, but it's just not my cup of tea, I guess. Um, I do like the whole block letters and the pirates on the shirts. Have the I don't know what that's called. It's not quite Old English and it's not quite block letters either. But I like them, and I like the pirate uniforms that way. I didn't show you any Yankee cards because the Yankee uniforms, although they have changed, for example, the home unis now are strictly the pinstripe and the New York logo, the same that's on the hat, on the breast. Uh, they weren't. That was pretty much standard home uniform, really, for a long, long, long time, longer than I can remember. Anyway, for sure, it's when they before they started putting numbers on the uniforms. Of course, they were pretty Spartan looking. But on the back, they started putting the uniform numbers on in the early '30s. And I think actually Cleveland was the first team to do that, by the way, but most of the others followed suit. And the early Yankee numbers were given out based upon the batting order. And that's why Ruth is 3 and Gehrig is 4, and, so on and so forth. I think that the road uniforms, which now have New York across the front, in the '50s at least said Yankees across the front, and that's I know Tony Kubek in this set does have that Yankee uniform. So those are my favorite uniforms. Uh, maybe a few of the reasons why I didn't care for hardly any of the uniforms in the 70s, and I was really happy when they went back to at least the look of the old uniforms. And now, today, you can't tell who's playing. They've got these wild uniforms that different colors that I don't know. It's just too much for an old guy. So anyway, that's enough ranting on the uniforms. And this video turns out to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, and I apologize for that. But anyway, Scott, thanks for running this contest. And with that in mind, this is Rocket Rick J18 wishing that all your collecting dreams come true.